All right, folks, welcome to Rogue Ways. This is episode 5, I believe. We're going to go backwards tonight. We have Scharmyn, Lindsey. She is an educator, was an educator, and still is. And we're going to talk about education because education goes backwards. So we're going to do the intro song as the outro song. But Lindsey, how are you doing?
I'm really good. How are you?
You know, worst things.
I noticed that you said this is Rogue Ways, which is actually my show.
Oh my God!
Show. You're a big liar.
Let's
but
do
I guess
it.
That's backwards too.
I mean, we could keep it like that, or we can scrap it. Let's maybe scrap it.
No, what? Roll with it.
That's right. You have the no deleting policy. That's right.
Basically.
That's right, people.
I just find it easier to not edit anything ever.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be
I'm
far
all about
easier.
time and efficiency.
So you taught kids things, yeah?
I did. I like to think I taught them some things. They taught me a lot of things as well. A lot. They say that it's like this stupid saying that you're like, oh, that's really sweet or whatever. But it's like actually true that you learn, if you're a good teacher, as much from your students as they learn from you. So that's definitely true.
That's fantastic. How long did you do that and what ages?
So I like to say 14 years because I was working in classrooms and in education as, teachers' assistants and teaching some classes in various capacities and tutoring and working with groups of kids for 4 years before I was officially certified when I was done with my master's in teaching, which I got from Woodring College of Education out of Western Washington University, which is one of the most prestigious teaching programs in the country, and it's very difficult to get into. So I got into it and I graduated from it with a 4.0. And then I went on to get my first teaching job, in which I was a certificated classroom teacher, finally, after years of working in education and working to get that certification. And then I did that for the next 10 years, and I've done that all over the world. I've done it in mostly Washington State from 6th grade to 12th grade, which my certification was. And mostly English, although I've taught science and math and social studies and art and all kinds of other things, computer technology. And I've taught in colleges, I've taught in private schools, I've taught in public schools, I've taught in Turkey, I've taught in Bahrain, and I've taught in the United States. And so I have a very wide range of educational experiences. And I also taught on a Native American reservation, and it was one of the only public schools on actual tribal land in the country. It's a very, very, very tiny
Where's that at?
Village. This was out on the coast of Washington.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the tribe that I taught with was the Makah tribe. They're the tribe that was made famous by killing the whale.
Oh yeah, no, I'm for sure. I'm from out here, so I remember when they were killing the whale. Like I remember, it was a big deal.
So I lived there, and it's a tribe is usually a tight-knit group of people, and this tribe is very remote, as you may know if you've been out there. It's like at the end of an 80-mile highway that there's nothing else on that highway except like them at the end of it, and then like one little light town nearby. And so they're really remote and very tight-knit, and so it was an incredible experience. That was my first year teaching too. So if any teachers listening to this, if they ever do, will be like, what the fuck?
It's like Dangerous Minds, right? Like, but worse because it's your first year.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, to some extent. I was doing middle school when I was out there, which I love middle schoolers because they're zany little weirdos and they're full of creativity and energy, and I love them a lot. So it was fun. It was a really, really cool experience. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever lived in my life, and I feel very lucky to have had that opportunity.
That's rad. For some reason, I just can't get the image out of my mind of. I think it's Michelle Pfeiffer. But
this is like 90% of people when they find out that I'm a teacher and that I taught they're like Dangerous Minds.
I could see you. Yeah, I could totally see you like zipping up your boots, and it's like, say I'm here to learn, but ain't nobody here to teach me. How will they reach me? I guess they can't.
Is that Coolio?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
cool, yo. I got to work on that one. I can do Warren G. Regulators. That's a good tune. So when did you get out of, I guess, like, because you were teaching to public school children, right?
Yeah, mostly. I have taught at private schools, mostly abroad. I taught at one private school here in the States, but most of my time is in public schools.
So when did you get out of that profession, or did you? I mean, were you like, because it seemed, I mean, based on what you're doing now, right? I don't know.
I started the show while I was still a teacher, and I've done most of it while still teaching. So a very small amount of Roadways has been not teaching.
Yes. Overthrow academia.
For like 2.5 years, I want to say.
Fuck yeah, overthrow academia. Don't just because you're inside of there doesn't, like, some of the best researchers I know are teachers and professors.
Well, I always want to clarify too. I went into teaching knowing that education was for indoctrination and that it was a slave system, and that's why I went into it, was so that I could hopefully jailbreak as many minds as possible. So I didn't leave teaching. I left teaching last year not because I finally saw it for what it was. I left teaching because I finally got to the place where it was like eating too much of my soul for me to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Did you find that the things like that students were getting, like, because I mean, I had a lot of interaction, right? Because I was there before the Chromebook. I was born in '85.
Yeah.
So like
real learning.
Right. Like I got more real learning than the kids that were born in 2005 have, like, virtually. I can't imagine how confusing it would be, because it was very confusing for you or me, right?
Your brainwaves are fucking manipulated by those screens all the time. Yeah.
Oh man. But did you, like, when did you see, I guess maybe technology? And well, did you see? I imagine you did, but when did you see technology have a negative impact? Start to have like a really, because it seems like now it's almost like eaten education from the core.
It's pretty pervasive in every way. Yeah, I guess so. To be as clear as possible, when I started, my first year was 2010 was the first year I was in the classroom. So the 4 years before that, there wasn't, when I was working with kids in classrooms, even though I wasn't the classroom teacher, technology was not an issue. Kids didn't really have phones with them. If they did, like, you didn't notice, it wasn't a thing. And there weren't really computers, like, or Chromebooks at least, like, in the classroom necessarily. And if there were, it was like a, thing that you just did sometimes. But my first year, as early as 2009, it actually was 2009, 2010, I had students who would be like texting in class, and I'd have to like take their phone away. So there's some minor disruption, but it still was sort of in a time, or at least maybe it was because they was there and there was a lot of poverty, and maybe they didn't have a lot of phones. I don't know, but it didn't seem that bad. I didn't notice it that much. But my last 4 years, I would say, I noticed it more and more and more, that it was expected by the students that they would be able to have their phone with them at all times and use it whenever they wanted. And which includes like just like texting while they're like trying to pretend like they're listening to you, because they're like really good. I mean, I had a girl who could text behind her back, hold her phone behind her back, and text people.
She should get those texts in, though. Come on, like, to be fair to her, that's like Olympic level.
That's what I was like. I'm not even mad. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, you're
good
like,
job.
I don't know. Oh, wow. Okay.
But then the last 2 years, it was like, if you didn't have a Chromebook in your class for them to use, it was like there was no way you were even going to get them to necessarily like focus. And this is somewhat exaggerating. I mean, there was lots of times where I didn't have them on computers, but it was like, it's just like I could see this growing expectation. Like, we're going to have our phone, we're going to use it whenever we want, we're going to have a screen in front of us if you want us to learn. Like, if you want us to like do something, it's going to be on a Chromebook. Because everything else is slow and so hard. It's so hard.
Well, and I noticed that because I go to college, and it's just for, it's for okey doke stuff. Like, I'm taking like English 101 and philosophy 101 now.
That's awesome. What fun classes. Those are my favorite.
They're rad. I love English and philosophy. It's great, but it's not like I'm super qualified to speak on education other than from my own experience. But I notice that kids today, like, when there'll be like a lecture or something, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to put away my shit. And now I want to hear this. I'm more interested in what's going on now. And that's when they won't be whipping out their phones when he's doing like these little bullet points and this is how you do this. But when he's like, hey, let me break this down for you, let me really tell you some knowledge here, it might take 45 minutes, then they're like, fuck, dude, I gotta get on Tinder, man, and see if anybody else here is trying to hook up. And
Hey, girl in the back of the class.
hey, girl. I just like, I can only imagine that was disheartening, right? Because like, if you got into it like that, but technology's been like that for all of us. Like, I don't think I know anyone, even people that are like in the middle of the tech industry big time. And I'm from Redmond, so you know, so you end up meeting people that work at Google and Microsoft and stuff. And I don't think any of them would actually say like, yeah, technology has made everything better. It's all gotten better in the last 20 years. This is all great. Like,
Well, so if you look at what education is actually for, it's for indoctrination, right? We mentioned that. And it's for creating this sort of person who is easily controlled and easily funneled in any direction, and their thoughts and the way they behave and all of it. So if you look at, is technology good for that? Absolutely, it's good for that. It's perfect for that. It totally disconnects you from the things around you. It totally makes you focus on productivity instead of depth or understanding, or connection, or like overviews or philosophy or asking why or any of these things that you have to do in sort of like a almost like visceral sort of way, and like writing or talking to someone and meeting their eyes, or like interacting with something and like creating something. Like all of that is cut out if you have someone just on a screen and you're focused on productivity. So when you're saying to me like, oh, they cared when he's doing the bullet points but not like the discussion, I'm like, that's exactly the mindset we've created. So you're like, what's the most productive? I gotta get shit done. What do you want me to do? I'm gonna do it. Oh, bullet points, that's all I need. Okay, now I'm gone. Like that was all I needed. I don't need to like engage with this in any sort of depth or do anything with it or create anything with it. So technology is perfect for that. And excellent for that.
Absolutely. And it's easy for me to see when others do this, right? But the truth is, I like everything in bullet points, partially because I'm an Aries. And so
I like bullet points. I'm not talking shit about bullet points.
Right.
There's a time for productivity.
There is. But yeah, it's like there's a system, and it's like funneling people into these little round holes, right? And people are squares and triangles and stuff, but if you tetrahedrons, yeah. What's that thing? What's the thing that's God is not a tetrahedron, it's the tetragrammaton.
Tetragrammaton.
Yes, people are tetragrammatons as well.
Yeah.
So like if you smash them enough, they will fit into a .docx file. They will fit into an Excel spreadsheet. It's possible to take.
And they'll love it because they'll have been addicted to that process and the stimulation that they get from that and the feedback they get from it, and they'll be like, this is all I want.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's it seems like now we're kind of foraging like a new path in just in education, in learning, in life, as to how do we productively use this technology, right? Because I'm sure that like even highly woke people, as woke as we might be, such as ourselves, I'm still sure you still sometimes look at that screen and you're like, oh man, this fucking thing it's watching me, and it's like it wants my time. It wants me to like it's like, come here, give it to me.
It's like this place we have to find, because there's people who are like, well, I need to get rid of my phone, get rid of my computer or whatever, or get rid of all this shit, and then go back to sort of a place of less technology. But I'm like, what's that thing where you're like, you want to be in the world but not of the world, or of the world but not in the world, or whichever way that is. I feel like that's actually like where is the best place to be, because it's like this thing where people are like, oh, why are you still on YouTube? YouTube's so evil. And I'm like, yeah, but YouTube is where everyone is. If you want to actually have any effect, like if I just want to sit here and talk to people who already understand me and agree with me and like jack off all day, like I can do that. But if I want to actually connect with people who might not have already like heard some of this, that's what YouTube is like. You have to be on YouTube for that. And if they kick me off, they kick me off. I can't do it anymore. But like in the meantime, I'm going to try to stay like as connected as I can with all of this bullshit, because that's how, hopefully we can reach a few people. So like you still have to be in the world, but you don't want to be to the point where you depend on this, or like some part of your who you are, your satisfaction with your life is like wrapped up in this. I think that's like where you want to start to, you just want to like be aware, like where can that line be where I can still use this, still be productive, but don't get addicted to it, and still, create what I want to create and try to connect with who I want to connect with, but not be like dependent on that as any part of who I am and where I'm going in life or whatever.
Yeah.
If this all ended tomorrow and you didn't have your show or I didn't have my show, like we'd be fine because we get it,
Yeah.
We get that this is just something we're doing for now that is really fun and really cool and
Totally.
Really productive in some ways, but like it might have to be let go of. And I feel the same about my phone. Like if it disappeared tomorrow, I feel like I'd actually be like maybe happier. But in the same sense, like I want to text my mom and I want to like FaceTime people sometimes, and I want to like interact with people on Facebook and whatever for now. So I don't know. There's some sort of balance in there, I think. I like to say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm the same way with my phone. Actually, no, I'm further to that. I'm like, if it gives me cancer, cool, I'm out of this plane sooner. It was nice. I had a good time. I enjoyed it while I was here, you guys. Hopefully I won't see you again unless I call you up into the ether or you call me up, but maybe on the next go round. Perhaps, I'll be black, you'll be a girl.
It's going to send out even more death rays at you now.
Yeah, but so the thing is that like regardless of what what your take on mortality is, or if you're like fuck the world or I love the world, I want to be here as long as I can, we don't want the negative effects, right? Because it's like harmful to you. But I think some of this is, and I know it sounds like some New Cage Dolores Cannon bullshit. If you're sick, it's because you think you're sick. But I honestly do think there's something to be said for the devil may care lifestyle. Like if you're gonna use your phone, I think you just use it and go, dude, 5G, yeah, bro, it'll probably kill you, but I mean, like, it might not kill me. I feel okay. Like
it's the same thing as what I was saying about YouTube. It's like we're in this world. Like we're gonna be here as long as we like can or want to be or need to be, and then we're gonna move on and we're gonna let go of all this shit. Like we're here for now. We're doing what we can for now. We're not like so attached to it.
Right. And it'll just be interesting to see what because people like I used to be waiting for the boogaloo, right? The big hubbub. I used to think like, oh, well, the power will go out or the economy will collapse and then we'll see people's true colors. But the truth is, like, I figured out, just through personal experience and some other things, that people are not as bad and mean and evil as they'd like to think, as they would like us to think they are. Now they do get very, divisive and stuff about resources in times of need, but like generally, even your neighbors who are a different religion than you, I could go over to my neighbors and I could be a Christian, they could be a Muslim, and I could say, there's no water, the water tap is off or whatever. And if they have some water, generally like 95% of them will give me like some of it, if not half of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I lived in Turkey, I had this like dramatic realization of what the way the world is, because I moved there. It's a new culture. Turkey is completely different from here. I mean, all humans are the same at some level, and you realize that too. But everything is done differently, from the way you like stand in line for something to the way you drive to the way people treat each other, like the way you greet people and you kiss their face, your faces are mashed together to strangers, and like all these things are sort of overwhelming, and you're like, holy shit, this place is fucked up. And on top of it, I'm living in Istanbul and people are fucking rude, and I'm like, dude, Turkish people are fucking rude. Like, they fucking like push you around in lines, and they fucking treat you badly, and like, this is bullshit. I fucking hate it here. Like, I love Turkey and like the food and stuff, but I was just like, Turkish people are just assholes.
Right.
And then I went out of Istanbul and I went into the like actual country like of Turkey, into like really rural areas, and people are so fucking nice that I was like, holy shit, was I wrong? In fact, Turkish people are nicer than anyone I've ever met. There's a guy who paid my fine for me so that I could catch my plane on time, because I got like a weird fine I didn't understand. And he's like, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. I'm like, what? I didn't have any money to give him. And he was just going to trust that I like would try to send him money from some other place just to like be a nice guy. I was like, no one in the US would do that for me. Nobody would be like, hey, random stranger, I see you're really upset. What's wrong? Oh, you have a fine. You can't leave without paying it. You don't have time to pay it before you catch your flight. Let me pay that for you. He
totally did it. You totally paid him back too, didn't you?
I did, but he didn't know that.
No, and that's honestly, I don't think that's why he did it. I think he did it just because it's righteous.
Because this is like what real people, human beings around the world, recognize other human beings.
Yeah,
and everybody wants everyone to be okay.
Regardless
like, for the most part.
Regardless
of something wrong with you if you want people to not be okay. And so I realized that it wasn't a Turkish thing, it's a city thing. People in cities are packed in like rats, and you become a fucking like demon, like you're disconnected from the earth, and you're in this totally false environment, and you become a piece of shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Outside of the city, and people are people again.
And regardless of what I think about the books or the holy men or whatever of all, we were saying, this is in Turkey. That's a straight Muslim country. There's not.
Yeah. They like to pretend they're very secular, but they're very not.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. But
no, that's an Islamic country.
Yeah, but there's like you can go to anywhere. The Christians, the Jews, like the Hasidic Jews, have been super nice to me. They've and they seem like the most inapproachable people. I mean, they wear these fun, like special little hats, and they're all wearing like, it's like suits too. So you're like, these guys are really serious. Like, I'm not sure if I should ask them where the water fountain is, but when I do, they're like, oh. Well, it's over there, but like, do you want some water? I have some in my car. Like, yeah, I mean, they're just chill. So many people have been so nice to me that I like looked at them and thought they would cast judgment on me. And I lean towards this like harsh criticism of humanity or of religion or spirituality even. I get really cynical and negative sometimes, but the truth is, my experience has been that like people are not that much pieces of shit. I think if the phone lines all went down and the power went out, I don't think it's quite. I think you'd have to shut the water off to get people to really start fucking with each other, and I'm not sure if that would quite do it either. I just don't. I really don't. I've been around people even when they're in really horrible situations that showed me like surprising amounts of grace and humanity where I was like, wow, no one could have expected that. So I don't think.
Let me like add to this. So I think you're right. I think that in general, we've been programmed by all kinds of media over so many years to look around and see people as our enemies, and to see like if there was any struggle or strife, they would be like out for our throats and for our food, for our things or whatever. And in reality, I'm like you. All my experiences have shown that people are actually quite good in their hearts and in their natures, and that our instinct, I mean, if shit went down right now, my first thing after I made sure everyone in my place was okay or whatever is I'd go outside and see like what was happening with my neighbors. Like, our instinct is to go connect with each other, and then in that, again, you're a human looking at another human in trouble, you're going to do what you can to help them. And so that's what I really believe is true. And the one time that I've seen this fail was I was abducted by a man out of a night, at night out of a bar or whatever. I was leaving the bar, and this guy grabbed me and started dragging me down the street. And there's a group of people standing everywhere. It was very crowded as a college bar, so there's people everywhere. And when I realized what was happening, because it takes you a minute to realize if you're being abducted or whatever, you don't.
For sure.
But once I realized, I was like crying and screaming for help. and all the people around me was just looking, some of them laughing, like meeting my eyes and like laughing. And so it took me a while to be like, what the fuck was wrong with people? Like, what happened? Because that, my faith in humanity is shaken now, because I have only seen this thing where we actually come together in strife and car accidents, or like shit like goes wrong, like people come together immediately. And in this situation, that specifically did not happen. And I got away. Obviously, I'm okay. So like that is its own story. But the thing that I realized that had gone wrong was this thing that we have, and it's a piece of our psychology and conditioning too. And it's that people tend to behave in the same way that everyone around them is behaving. So in a group, when no one is responding to me, no one responds to me. When no one is going to help me, no one goes to help me. If one person would have said, hey, that's not cool, and like reached towards me even, other people would have.
Yes.
It would have taken one person to change that outcome.
Absolutely. And that's, that's regardless of what, what kind of Tavistock stuff he was caught up in. That's what people like Gandhi, to me, I'm like, you guys look at that shit. I'm like, who cares how exactly that happened? I choose to believe that organically one man can say, hey, no. You know what, guys?
Exactly.
No, I'm not okay with this.
That's the lesson. Not the lesson that like no one did anything. The lesson is all you have to be is that one person who does anything, and other people will do shit too.
Amen. And
so
exactly.
If shit was breaking down and people were like looting or doing whatever, even then, all you have to do is be the person who's not doing that, and other people will be like, "Oh, we can also not do this."
And
maybe I won't do that.
Yeah, this brings up a really good point, because I had that whole multiculturalism post, and we won't like rehash that because it's a super long discussion. But somebody,
I don't think I was on that post.
What's that?
I don't think I was on that post.
No, you were. Either that or the one about the Quran. Either way, but I was like, should we encourage and practice multiculturalism? I know it seems like a good idea, and Muslims seem like nice people, but the book basically says we're trash. But somebody came in there and they told me, they said, look, I was born in Iran during the Iran-Iraq war. And they were like, I'm not like, my experience in Muslim culture is I speak Arabic. I was raised in a Muslim community. Everyone that grew up around me, and me, myself, is Muslim. And they were like, you're not misinterpreting it, but they were like, that's not really the issue here. Is when religious people or other people get in a community where there's like the common person, the moderate like believer in general justice or good, or the moderate drinker at the outside of that bar where you're being accosted, that person is generally, they probably would stand up. But when there's something like really negative happening, then people go with these trends very quickly. And like, if you have some kind of allegiance to that accoster, to somebody, because he said he's seen people get lynched in the street, and see moderate believers like cheering this on.
Jesus.
Because like they know deep down, they're like, this is, well, that's the way it is. But I feel like it doesn't even need to be in a religious book. Just, that's a social connotation. Like,
yes,
if you're like,
that's actually the point, is that it's not about religion at all. It's about that. So that thing we were just talking about, where like if you're in a group and it's, you tend to do what the group is doing, and that's just psychology. It doesn't mean anything about you at all. It's just like how humans are. We're pack animals. That's how pack animals behave. And then you add to that some motivation to stay with the group, because there's then this is what indoctrination is based off of. There's some punishment for you if you don't go along. So now it's not just that you have this tendency to do what the group's doing and not really think about it. Now you also have this thing like, well, if I don't do this, I might get lynched. So like, I'm just going to fucking cheer because that's safe as fuck. Like, that's how good people end up doing horrible things.
That's
when you know these aspects of psychology and you can see that sort of coming, you can like remove yourself ahead of time and be like, whoa, this group seems to have a thing where like, if I don't go along with them, I might get lynched. I'm just not going to get involved with this group,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm slowly like cultivated that skill from years of hard won experience, getting involved with people that, believe it or not, may have even been more trouble than me. And like there's a point of diminishing return, and I see that people get involved in these things really devoutly in the truth community, that things that I'm totally behind. I'm like, I love flat earth. I'll bang the flat earth drum. If anyone wants to talk about the flat earth, I'm like, oh, let's do it. This is great. But I'm like, if that's full stop, if that's where it is, people
Like if
get
that can't be questioned.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. People get involved in these ultimatums of whether it's like religion or geocentrism or heliocentrism, whatever. And these,
Dude,
that's
and it can be tiny too. It can be like t-shirts are the best. It can be something as stupid as that, and it's like will break a group or whatever. It's fucking stupid.
That's why I really like Eyes Open and Rogue Ways, because I feel welcome to, like, I have some contentious. Yeah, you guys, if you don't know, go and check out Lindsey's podcast. It's called Rogue Ways, and it's on BitChute, YouTube.
It's on everything, I think. It's on DLive, YouTube, and Facebook is where it streams live, but you have to be my friend on Facebook to see it on Facebook. It's best to just go to YouTube and search for it. Nothing's been taken down so far. I'm definitely not big fry enough for it to like have any attention or whatever, so it's all still there. Every episode, and it's interesting because people I think who are new to it like don't realize that like there's like 2 years of interviews and like shows, and all of them are amazing. So like go explore. I've had people like email me and be like, wow, I found your channel and I've just been educating myself since then and watched all these videos, and I'm like, that's so cool and beautiful, because what like in the moment when I'm live streaming them, they're so fun and informative, but it's nice to think that they're like a resource that people can also go back to. So
Sure.
like pick a random episode and watch it if you're gonna go be new to it. It's
Or even if you're old to it, like, because there's you know, I haven't had many guests on, right? But all the ones I have, I try to just have cool people. I'm like, I probably wouldn't.
Because then no matter what happens, it's going to be a good show.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't put it up if it wasn't some, like, if I was like, wait, I thought they were cool, but they're not.
Yeah, that's the hard part about live streaming. But I'm very lucky. I've just like shit just works out. I get really cool guests sometimes. Sometimes guests that are like far beyond my, like, there's no reason they should be on my show, but they do it anyway, and I'm like so grateful because they're awesome people.
Oh, for sure.
Like Max Egan and like Crow and like these people. It's like, wow, thank you so much for like deigning to come down to my level.
Well, and I feel that way when I talk to pretty much any of these guys. I feel that way when I speak to you. Like, it's.
Thank you.
But you're.
But that's a thing that you start to realize is like really, really everyone's just a person.
For sure, podcasting is amazing. Like, I've got to talk to Baldini, like, because I've met him. He's the bee's knees. The guy's great, but
jealous.
I know.
Someday I'll meet him.
You gotta
come. That area right when I met.
You gotta come. Yeah, when you're here, I'll come and we'll all sit down and roast a bowl of pipeweed or something.
I don't smoke weed, but I'll watch you guys smoke weed and I'll drink.
I don't even know if Baldini
drinking coffee, so he'll be happy to know.
Oh, for sure, methamphetamines. That's what he calls them. He makes a mean.
That'd be fun.
He makes a mean cup of coffee, but yeah, him and Ben, just through like talking to those guys in the Crow group, and then telling them like, oh, I think I'm gonna do a podcast. I was able to get both of these guys that are like, but I mean, Ben is a fucking legit master alchemist.
Oh yeah,
he is
genius.
If I had to bet on like, okay, people are trying to become gods through their experience in life, and I had to bet on like who can do it, who possibly will make it through the filter, I'd be like, I'll put some money on Ben Balderson. Like, I'd be like, hey, exactly. I'd be like, he's fucking down. He puts in the work, and he really is. He lives by his philosophy.
Oh yeah, the story of Ben and I meeting is kind of amazing.
Tell it.
Yeah.
Have you told it before?
So we were in a group that I won't mention, but anyone who knows us knows what group I'm talking about. And this is where I met a lot of the people from Eyes Open. Actually, Eyes Open is like a split off group from this group where we all met, and it's for a different podcast. And I was the sort of accidental like admin in that group because when I found this group, I was like, holy shit, there's other people who think in the world. Wow. I got freaked out because I had not had that like before. It's like you're surrounded by people who are indoctrinated who don't question anything your whole life. And then all of a sudden I found this group of people who question everything. And I was like so overjoyed that I was just in there every day and I was pouring all this energy into it. And people were like, make her an admin, just make her an admin. And the admins were like, why? Nobody wants to be an admin. It's just extra work. But people were like, no, we love Lindsey. And so I became an admin eventually. And Ben comes in and I had made a post, or someone made a post about like healthy living. Like, what do you guys do to take care of yourselves or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I do this and this and this and all of this shit. And I did not know Ben at all before this point. And I said, but I drink every day and I think it undoes all the good shit that I do. And he private messaged me and he was like, dude, I remember how he said it, but he said it in an alchemist way. He was like, you realize, this is what he said. He said, you realize that alcohol separates the spirit from the matter, right? And I was like, like for some reason, out of all the times in my life that I've thought about how bad alcohol is and recognized that I don't want to do it anymore and even quit a few times and whatever, like him saying that, just that one phrase, just with no judgment, just like, you realize this is the truth, right? I quit drinking that moment and I've never drank since then. And that was, I think, 3 years ago. And that's how I met Ben. And Ben was just a dude in a group and I was just a lady in a group. And then we went through all these transformations. There's a ton of really crazy synchronicities. There's a piece that I wrote about it and it's called The Wisdom of Dreams. And it's on my site, rogueways.org. If anybody wants to go read this, it's actually a pretty beautiful piece. It's one of my favorite things I've ever written. But it's about all of the synchronicities and the pathways that Ben and I then traveled down together. And one of them is he was starting to receive all of these ideas and like thought forms and whatever. I'll just leave it at that. And he was like trying to basically translate them into human language. And so he would message me like the most random shit. And seriously, this is a guy I don't know as far as anyone. Like he's just like I knew him less than I know you now or whatever. Like we just we're in this group messaging each other every once in a while. But I like could tell that like whatever he was trying to tell me was like really, really profound and really important. So I would just like ask him questions. I'd be like, nothing you just said makes any sense at all. Do you mean this? Or like, is it like that? Like, does it have to do with this thing? And I'm like, this is like something I've been trained in as a teacher, like, because a lot of students have a really hard time expressing what they mean or whatever. And it wasn't like Ben has that problem, but just like the shit that was downloading into his brain was so immense that it was like just untranslatable almost. So like I'm asking Ben all these questions and like helping him translate it. And this is basically how he was able to get his download of his tree of life and the alchemical relations therein into our world. Was like that process of us talking back and forth. You mean,
wow, that's fucking intense.
Yeah.
Do you mean history
and
of
this
life?
Is all embedded in like a billion synchronicities that are beyond what I
Do you mean history of life as in like history of pre-incarnation as well? Because he's told me about this being his first incarnation. And like, as far as he can tell, him like having to dwell in the underworld in order to come up here or get to the Midgard, to this plane, in order to try to like do what he's doing now. And I mean, this whole thing, I love Lord of the Rings, right? I love epic stories because life is an epic story. This is far more.
Life is a fucking trip.
It's far more of a fairy tale than they would have us believe. And like this shit that is fantastical is really the shit on the news. When they tell you, oh, the fucking coronavirus is going to kill your ass, so you better go and get a vaccine or your whole family's their fucking eyes are going to turn inside out, and if you eat gluten, your dick's going to fly off. That's, it's fucking, it's not.
You better eat bugs instead. I hear that's like what's going to keep you alive longer.
I hear bugs and babies. Like
Yeah,
that's
eat bugs and babies.
wasn't there a lady a while back that was literally saying, and I don't know if that's some like liberal, because the Babylon Bee puts out all this stuff. Like I don't know, but I think there was a lady saying we should eat babies. That was a solution to the overpopulation.
Oh, no, that was a joke. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a group who intentionally goes and agitates at like Democratic and liberal events for in ways that hopefully will draw attention to like how absurd the logical conclusion to their practice.
Those guys are dope. Those guys are dope. That's some next level trolling. I like.
So cool.
I like.
But I was like, she was like, well, I mean, we gotta like get the population down, and global warming, we gotta stop it from killing everyone. So we may as well just like eat kids because then we have less people, and then also we're like not having to farm cows, and it's like it was pretty good.
I like the and I never really watched it, but I've just heard of the birds aren't real guys too. I'm like, they're like trolling the conspiracy community, but in a way,
think about it.
In a way. They're like, dude, they're like, bro, we're putting this forward, and that draws attention. People are like, birds aren't, well, that's ridiculous, but they'd be like, why the fuck did I even look at this? Birds aren't real. I wonder if the moon is real. Like, I don't know. I like trolling. As long
it's
as
a fun thought experiment no matter what, though. Because you're like, okay, what if birds aren't real? How? Why? Like, what? You know, like... Clearly they're real, but just like there's nothing wrong with exploring the thought of it. You know, it's a practice in logic, an exercise for your mind.
Do you have children?
No. Like the way I'm like, ew. No, I've never had kids. I had enough kids. I've had thousands and thousands of kids that were not my own.
Well, I'm sure you enriched their lives.
They call me mom, unfortunately, sometimes.
All right, mom.
So some of them called me dad just for fun.
What was the like? I imagine you don't probably subscribe to like the Globe, or what's your thoughts on that?
So I like a lot of people who ended up questioning the globe shape in the first place started from a place of being like, what the fuck is wrong with this flat earth people? Like, this is ridiculous. Why do they even think this? Like, I wanted to be able to like really quickly and easily come back at anyone who says the earth is flat with like, dude, if you think that because this, then here's where you're wrong or whatever, you know, like, so I went looking into it and so far now I'm like, doesn't seem like it's a globe. If it is a globe, at the very least, it must be a much, much larger globe than we're told. And we're just in a small area of it. And there's like a lot more land outside of, which fits a lot of old mythologies and legends and whatever. So that could be it. Could be flat. Could be a fucking simulation. Like I've done episodes on simulation theory and other versions of questioning the entire reality and substrate upon which we seem to be interacting. And so I always have to come to the conclusion that I have no idea. I have no way of knowing. I can't prove that it's not a simulation. I can't prove that it's not flat. I can't prove that it's a globe. I seemingly can prove that it's not a globe. It seems obvious to me that we've never been to space. It seems really, really obvious we didn't go to the moon. Since we didn't go to the moon and we still haven't gone to the moon, it seems like we can't go to the moon. If we actually have all of this technology that seems like we do, like we're doing pretty amazing things right now, it seems like we should be able to leave our atmosphere, but I have no evidence that we ever have. So it could be a globe, and this could all be some sort of really, really weird misdirection.
And that's like, that's the craziest thing, right? Do you ever watch Quantum of Conscience?
No.
Oh man, that's some next level YouTube conspiracy. Like I have a lot of, it's not a guilty pleasure. This is like an intellectual, like
just pure pleasure.
High point of my day. Yeah. And he can be really myopic myopic is that when you have a singular focus and you're like, you can't. So yeah, he can be really myopic and he can be like, everything is fake. This is all a fucking simulation. There's no way it's real. But God, he fucking brings up great points. I forgot what got me to that, but so simulation theory. Yeah, he'll be like, you know, the people who believe in the globe, and when I did, he'll be like, oh, they or I believe in it with such veracity they cling to it so much that I could only assume that to them, whatever evidence they're being presented with does not seem preposterous at all. It must seem totally real. And it's possible.
I disagree. I think it must seem so preposterous that they can't even look at that because it would disintegrate everything that rests on top of that. Some part of them knows that it's ridiculous. Otherwise, they wouldn't give a fuck who's questioning it. When you haven't cheated on your partner and your partner's like, did you cheat on me? You're like, no. When you have cheated on your partner, not that I ever have, and they're like, did you cheat on me? You're like, what the fuck? No, God, why would you think that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know the shit that's being attacked is really weak.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think the emotional attack, well, it could be either that, like, it's either like deep conditioning, you're unwilling to question it, and it's like been pounded in with that thing we said where you have a punishment if you question. And it could be this thing where like some part of you really knows.
I think it's probably both, but like, or is it, some combination. But either way, it's people like I know that people know when they're wrong, and you know how I know that is because I know when I'm wrong. But some of the people who are like talking about things like heliocentrism, they're trying to tell me about black holes and big bangs and speciation and macroevolution. I don't think they know they're wrong at all. I don't think they even think they could be wrong. I think they think that, like, I think they know that I must be wrong. Like,
yeah.
I just don't think they know what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, that's the other problem is like people think that they're really, really smart and that they've thought about things really, really, really deeply. And then it turns out that they haven't, or rather that thing happens, if they do start to question it, they start to realize like, oh, I don't know anything. Actually, like I know very little. I don't know. And I always go back to though, like, what does it matter in the end? And you can go both ways with this. People can be like, well, why do you even question it? Like, who cares if it's flat or not? Just like let it go and move on and live your life. And I'm like, well, I think it's important to go through the process of questioning everything and the logical exercise of trying to determine what's, most likely and least likely and these types of things. I think are really important just for our discernment, to practice those things. I think it's good. And in the end, I can't really know, right? But in the end, I also have to think about like what doesn't matter or what does matter. And what matters is like it doesn't matter really if I'm in a simulation or not. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that like I'm still acting in a way that is in alignment with what I know is good, true, and beautiful is the way I describe it. But however you want to describe that to you is that you're acting in a way that's in complete integrity with what you know is like inside of you as who you are as a human being. Right? Because that's the only thing you can know is what's inside of you. So everything outside of you should match that as much as possible. And that's all that really matters to me. But you could tell me we're in a simulation tomorrow. You could tell me we're in a globe tomorrow. You could show me absolute proof of any of these things, and it still wouldn't change like who I am and what I do with
that. That's the bee's knees. I really like you, Lindsey. My mom also likes you. I was like talking about some conversation I was having, some Facebook epic freaking religion argument or something, and I was like, and then my friend came in and I was bickering with her, and then she was good spirited about it, and I was trying to be as well, but then eventually she said, she was like, if people like expressing their opinions about something that you brought up like provokes such an emotional reaction, like you might want to take a look at that. And those type of interactions that I have with people, that's why I'm like, social media is not, it can't be we can't view it like Satan book, because everyone in Eyes Open is on there. Everyone in Birds of a Feather, all the people that listen to Crow are on there. Like, I don't care what type of fuckery is going on Facebook. You guys make it worth it. You do. You guys watching this.
Well, you also are taking that opportunity to use that as something valuable for you. And it goes back to that same thing where you're now taking that and saying, what does this actually mean about me and who I am, and how do I want to make myself more accurately reflected in the world around me or whatever. And maybe part of it is like, oh, I don't necessarily want to like react out of emotion in these ways or whatever. But that says a lot about you and who you are and what you're doing with that social media. Social media, when it comes down to it, is just like anything else. It's a tool, right? It's being used against us for sure, but we can also use it for ourselves.
And it's like drugs. I try to tell people about psychedelic drugs. I'm like, these things are, I'm like, there's, drugs are bad. Okay. Like drugs are just nothing to be taken lightly. Like Russell would know personally, like I don't even have to detail it. I just have like massive amounts of experience. Lindsey would know, Russell would know, drugs are bad. Okay. But like, we can't wholesale dismiss drugs, period. That would be a really bad idea because there's a lot of them that have like profoundly medicinal applications. But then you go into the spiritual things, and I'm like, mushrooms, DMT, peyote, or San Pedro cactus. I'm like, I don't know
even
what.
Even THC in the right application.
Absolutely. And actually primarily THC, like in a way that's more like intact and whole. Like when you smoke weed, I feel like I'm like, okay, this is godly and comfortable and good. And I kind of feel the same way on mushrooms, but it's weed. I'm like, it's like God giving me a big blankie and like tucking me in.
That's sweet.
But these things, it's not easy to unpack this stuff in a social media world where Facebook could either be the place that you meet your friends in eyes open, or it could be the place where you go to talk about your abortion and you get trolled by a bunch of anti-vaxxers that are just nasty to you. They're just spiteful and hateful. Or you just
go. You have to take responsibility for that too. If I put something out and I'm like, I love killing babies, and people are like, how dare you kill babies? Like, I can't be mad that anyone did that because I went out in a public space and said that out loud.
No, you can't.
To have a response, you shouldn't have ever said it out loud in public. Like, I'm not saying that anyone should troll anyone or attack anyone for their thing or whatever, but I'm also like, I get kind of sick of this thing where people are like, oh, we have to like find a way to shut down trolls or shut down whatever, and it's like you can't go into public and then control the response you get.
Right? No, it
might be like great and positive and uplifting, and it might be like just vitriol, and it bothers me too. I'm not saying I'm like perfect at this, but like I feel like we have to get to a place where we're like, oh yeah, when I do something in public, like I can't control the response, and I have to own that. That's
for sure. But to bring it back to psychedelics, this is what I was thinking. It's like, so it's similar to that in the sense that like it's this super powerful tool. Like you could do a ton of things with psychedelic drugs. You could do a ton of things with social media or the technology. Exactly. But it's really up to you. And if we get involved in the social, cultural mind fuckery, this pop culture, like just take the acid and listen to the Grateful Dead and fucking hang out with the trans parties and just boom chick, and it's all in 442.
Yes. Like that's exactly what you did with it. Not you, but like the person, because that's the other thing. People are like, oh, well, they used drugs and they destroyed these people. And it's like, yes, and that was fucked up. And it's also fucked up that person destroyed themselves with drugs.
Exactly.
Like they're not immune from that you have to have responsibility for yourself, not you.
And then the thing about drugs, and I'm sure that it pains you to see this, like, because when I look at young people that are, and I'm 34, right? But I mean, I started shooting heroin when I was 20, and I didn't quit until May 1st of last year. So, like, thank you. Yeah, thank you. But so, like, when I see young people that are all messed up on drugs, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, dude. But then I have to bring myself back down to like, them's the rules. That's the world. That's Facebook, that's drugs, that's religion, that's sex. It's just we sleep in the beds that we made, and we do get what we pay for. And folks, that's why I want to encourage you to not vote. Make a podcast, because if you vote,
go out and hang out with kids and keep them fucking from doing drugs.
Boom!
Like that's what you can do.
Exactly. You want to vote for the best candidate. Go to the local children and see if they want to go and play a game of softball, and just ask them how their day was.
Kids are not scary. They're rad, and they actually want to hang out with adults and talk to adults in positive ways, really badly. And they won't show that very easily because they also don't want to be hurt. Like all of us, they don't want to face rejection, and they've only received rejection from most of our society most of the time.
Obviously, make sure that you don't have a Chester the Molester mustache when you do this.
Yeah,
but
don't do this alone.
Yeah, don't do it alone. Go talk to their parents first or something. But go get involved.
Go volunteer at a school, or go fucking volunteer after school, or whatever. Hang out with kids.
Or just go to school. Go read a book. Don't fucking go in that thing and vote and pull the hammer. Here, I'll read you a poem that I wrote about voting. You got to do Rogue in
I know. I actually have to go soon, and I want to do a few plugs before I go.
Okay, can I just do we have time for the poem real quick?
Sure.
Okay. It's called We Gotta Vote Harder. They're banging the drum for voting season again. You can smell the democracy in the air. Unaware that my breath does not control the tides, that 11-year-old girl volunteering for school asked me in a sincere, indoctrinated, mind-controlled fashion, "Would you like to register to vote?" Sure. I really do think we need to get behind our politicians and push them off a fucking cliff. Left or right? Middle or libertarian? Green or rainbow? Dead rat or rotting possum? Giant douche or a tired old turd sandwich? We aren't voting hard enough, people. We gotta really get in there this time and pull that lever. Mash that button. You've been voting and voting and voting, but you're not voting hard enough. I look at registered sex offenders like I look at registered voters. Stupid people that I should personally be wary of and that I should definitely not let my children talk to. Are you a Democrat? Eat a dick. Are you a Republican? Eat a dick. Are you a parrot reading a script for the crown while thinking you embody the revolution? Do you even see these people that are supposedly going to be our leaders? I wouldn't trust them to lead a Girl Scout troop. We can't sell enough candy bars to pay down the national debt. There is no saving a broken system. The law of entropy is in effect, and the old ways must be torn down for the phoenix of freedom to rise. One more term. One more term. I know we didn't get all the pedophiles and the corrupt politicians this time, but if we just re-elect Biff from Back to the Future, then we'll finally drain the swamp. I vote for anarchy, voluntary participation, and a big row of guillotines in the Walmart parking lot for anyone who wants to be my leader.
Yeah. What do I say? Heads on pikes and general strikes or nothing changes. And guillotines in the street. That's Steve Koikana's Slow News Days motto. I like it. I like your poem. Well done.
Why, thank you.
Vote harder. It'll change everything.
Steve Koikana's what?
Steve Koikana of Slow News Day. He's in Eyes Open, although he's really busy lately because he works a lot on the Freedom for Assange thing. He's a lot less of a full-on, running down every rabbit hole person and a lot more on the political side of things. But he has a really awesome show where he does really good analysis, and he often surprises me because he seems like he's very liberal and lefty and sort of I have a new bad taste in my mouth for that sort of sphere of things. But Steven's a very rational, awesome person who almost always has the exact same analysis I would have, unless you're going the route of all politics is illusion and garbage and you should never get involved in any of it, which I also understand. But if you're going to stay on that side of things, we're maybe we can still change things, especially in our local areas and local elections or whatever. He's the guy for that. But I didn't mean to do a plug for Slow News Day. I meant to do a plug for my own shit before I go.
No, do your plugs. I'm sorry. Do the plugs. Everybody listen.
Can I share a screen?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I think so.
I want to show these awesome
I'm not sure.
posters that I made.
Oh, what?
Yeah, they're all flowers. It's a set of 5, and I don't know if I can easily show the other side, but they're pretty cool coasters. And so these I'm actually going to give away to somebody who is a Subscribe Star person. And so, well, that didn't work. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yeah. Corey
Is it showing
Scharmyn.
my website?
Yeah. Oh, it's a baby.
So you can go to subscribestar.com/rogue-ways, and if you subscribe at any level, including the $1 level, you actually get entry to win these coasters. If you subscribe at $7 level, it's 7 entries, $22, 22 entries, $55 level is 55 entries. And each of those have their own perks. If you're into tarot readings, the $55 level is really good because you get 1 tarot reading a month. And the tarot readings I usually sell for $60. So it's actually a discounted tarot reading every month and access to all the Subscribe Star content. But anyways, if you go and subscribe to Subscribe Star, even at the $1 level, you are entered to win those. These are a $50 value. So they're pretty cool. And then also on my site, there's the Logic 2020 conference coming up this summer. You can buy tickets to that. And if you do want to buy a tarot reading or a class, I teach classes on all kinds of things, or any Rogue Ways gear, that's all there on the site as well.
See if you can you press back or something, because it's been on this picture of the baby the whole time, unless it was supposed to be.
Oh, really? Shit.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oops. Oh, that was my little nephew. So the whole time I was actually like going through my site, rogueways.org, and trying to show you where you could buy these things, like my classes and tickets to the Logic event and the Rogue gear.
Okay.
And showing my Subscribe Star page, where if you go subscribe, you can enter to win the flowers. Sorry that I fucked that up. That's my little nephew who's not supposed to ever be online.
I didn't want to interrupt because I was like, the kid's cute and I'm digging what she's saying. I don't know.
He's so cute. He's the cutest. I know he's technically right there as well. But yeah, so if people want to win these, that's the way to win them. I'm going to be doing that for the next, I don't know for sure how long, but I'm going to say a month, but I might do it sooner than that because I might get sick of talking about it after a few days. So subscribe sooner rather than later if you want to be entered to win those. And finally, go check out Rogue Ways on YouTube or your favorite video or podcast app to see more of that shit.
Tell John, yeah, you guys go check out Rogue Ways. Peep it out. It's the bee's knees. You're my favorite. You're my favorite. Like
non-research based podcast.
Yes, compatriot in the truth, like kind of swamp, where I'm like, you know what? I'm like, Lindsey's you're smarter than I am, or maybe more educated or so whatever. But I'm like, she's going and talking to the super smart people that she doesn't necessarily know everything about what they're talking about. And I
don't know anything about what they're talking about.
Yeah, you're just like, what? So
that's why I get to ask them really good questions and get really good answers.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
This is what I've figured out a way to get free college for the rest of my life, and it's by doing this show. I get to interview all kinds of people and ask them questions about all kinds of shit that they're experts on.
That's so tight. Okay, well, who's going to be on tonight?
No one's on tonight. It's just me. I'm going to talk about empathy and being an empath, because my whole supposition and my premise is that everyone is an empath.
I'm gonna have to check this out. We already talked about it, but I'll show up.
Come see.
I'll show up. I'll show up because, if nothing else, just to be proven wrong or to have a good argument.
You might prove me wrong. Who knows? But yeah, people. I don't think this is gonna air before then, but I guess people can go back and check it out. But basically, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain, I do live streaming, and I either have a guest on, usually a guest more often than not, or I will talk about some random shit that is important to me, or I'll do, sometimes I'll do a rerun of some of those shows that people don't realize exist from the past that are really awesome. So I do that every once in a while, too.
The throwbacks. Okay.
Yeah.
Lindsey, thank you so much for coming. It was truly my honor to spend this time with you. Yeah, and hopefully you come back again sometime, maybe.
I would love to.
All right. Enjoy your podcast. I'll see you there in the chat. Hey, that's our
Yes.
2 cents, folks. That's our 2 cents. You can
Yes.
spend it how you want.
I love it.
Bye.
See you soon.